Hi, Tom from bkmnutrition.com, and today I want to talk about 7 things you should never do when you're trying to lose body fat. Now, this is not an exhaustive list of things that you shouldn't do. I'm sure there are hundreds of things that you shouldn't do. But here are 7 things that are quite common. I've heard my clients say to me that they've done in the past, and so I thought I'd just collect them all here in a sort of a list of things that you might be thinking of doing to lose body fat, and I'll tell you right now, don't do them because they won't help you. Okay, so the first thing is to always eat breakfast or not always eat breakfast. So there's this thing that people say that you must eat breakfast. It's the most important meal of the day. It kickstarts your metabolism for the day, and that's why a lot of diet programs say you must eat a breakfast to sort of fire up your metabolism, and that's actually a misconception. The firing up of the metabolism comes from the fact that when you eat food, you turn on something called the thermic effect of food, which is basically just your body digesting the food that you just put in. So yes, it does fire up the metabolism, but only to digest the food that you've just eaten. Your metabolism is going along just fine in the morning. It only increases slightly because you put some food in. Now, obviously, if you put some food in and you're firing up the metabolism to digest that food, you're still left afterwards with the calories that are left over. And so if you're not actually hungry and you don't actually need that food, excuse me, you potentially are eating food that you don't need, which might turn to body fat. Now, plenty of my clients, they don't eat breakfast. They just have a coffee or something like that in the morning, and then they prefer to eat their first meal at lunch, and they push their calories towards the middle and towards the end of the day when they're a little bit more tired and need a little bit more of something to eat. Now, that's perfectly fine to do that. Remember, it's the total calories you eat in the day that matters. It's not when you eat your food. It's not. You don't have to eat your breakfast in order to turn on your metabolism, like some places say. Now, there has been studies, and sometimes people will reference studies that show that people who eat breakfast lose weight better on average than people who don't eat breakfast. Well, actually, in the studies where they've matched the calorie intake, so one group ate breakfast, the other group didn't eat breakfast, but they ate the same amount of total calories in the day, those groups still lost weight exactly the same. Now, of course, if you're skipping breakfast, but that makes you hungrier towards the middle of the day where you might eat more food, that's obviously not a beneficial thing. So you have to make sure you control your calorie intake for the day, but there is absolutely no difference if your calories are matched in the day if you eat breakfast or don't eat breakfast. Remember, it's up to you how you do a diet. You need to have a diet that fits your lifestyle. If your lifestyle doesn't allow you to eat breakfast, such as you're at work at say 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, you do shift work, for example, and you get up at say 3 o'clock, you might not be thinking about eating food, but it's perfectly fine to eat sort of like 8-9 o'clock when you have your mid-shift break or something like that. You're not going to stall your body fat use by the body by not eating breakfast. And actually, if you don't eat breakfast, ironically, you're potentially going to burn a bit more of your body fat as fuel because you haven't put any calories in. So, but don't get your hopes up, because actually your body balances out for the rest of the day. It goes back to using its food that you've eaten in terms of using it for fuel. So you do on balance burn the same amount of body fat. So it's not a miracle thing not to eat breakfast either. So either eat breakfast or don't eat breakfast. Doesn't matter as long as your calories are balanced for the day. Number 2, a really popular one is fasted cardio. A lot of people and a lot of dietitians, diet gurus, will say to you that you must do fasted cardio because you'll burn more body fat doing fasted cardio. You'll burn more fat, I should say, doing cardio in the morning. Now, that is true to a certain extent, because if you are doing cardio where you're fasted, where you've not eaten, then yes, what's going to happen is you're going to burn a higher percentage of fat doing that cardio. However, like I've said with breakfast, the body tends to balance us out. So if you and this has been researched, so if you have burnt more, say, fat for fuel in the morning, the body tends to balance out by burning carbohydrate or glycogen for in the evening. So you generally can't tip the scales in terms of burning more body fat. It's always going to be the calorie deficit. And if you're not in a calorie deficit, if you're in a calorie surplus, and you do fasted cardio, well, yeah, you're going to burn a bit of body fat in the morning perhaps, but then if you're overeating, you're going to put that straight back on in the evening. So fasted cardio or fed cardio, it doesn't really matter. The only time I think this would really matter is if, say, you're a sort of professional bodybuilder or competing bodybuilder, where you're looking to reach extreme levels of low body fat. Then I think there is a slight advantage to doing fasted cardio in the morning. Now, the advantage of doing fasted cardio is if you do go into the gym first thing and you're doing your cardio, well, then you're not eating, so you're not taking calories in. You're potentially setting yourself up for a more productive day by doing some exercise first, and your mindset might be on your diet more because you've done this cardio first thing. So you're going to be mindful that, you know, to eat better during the day. It's almost giving you a sort of maybe a placebo boost of you're doing some good for yourself, so then you stick to your diet better. So there is that potential advantage. However, looking at the other side, fed cardio, there are studies that show that if you eat a little bit of food before you do exercise, your actual perceived rate of exertion, so how hard you think the workout is or how hard you think the cardio is reduced, and potentially you're going to get more out. You're going to do more calories in that session. So obviously, if you're monitoring your cardio, if you do exactly the same amount of calories burnt doing cardio and you eat exactly the same amount of calories in the day, it doesn't matter. But say if you did fed cardio and you did more output in your, say, 40 minutes or whatever you're doing it, then potentially you're going to increase your calorie deficit for the day. So I used to do cardio. I never used to do it fasted. I always used to have a small amount of food before I went. It was like a rice cake with a tiny bit of peanut butter on. I think the total calories is about sort of maybe 50 to 100 calories. It wasn't a lot. But by having that, I went to the gym, I wasn't hungry, I wasn't thinking about food when I was doing my cardio. The cardio wasn't hard, I got through it easily. I almost enjoyed the cardio. I don't see how anybody enjoys cardio, but I almost enjoyed it. And it set me up nicely for the day, and it only cost me 100 calories. So I always used to do my cardio fed. It was never fasted, and I got ready for shows absolutely fine. So you don't have to do fasted cardio for weight loss or fat loss. If it suits you and your day to do that, well, absolutely, that's fine. Go and do that. If it makes you feel better by doing it, then yeah, great. But it doesn't give you an advantage. It doesn't give you some sort of special fat burning furnace that you're going to turn on. It's not necessary to do it, only if it fits your lifestyle. Number 3, going away from fasted cardio, let's go towards cheat days. And a lot of people, when they do diets, they will set themselves up for having a cheat day one day a week where they can have anything they want on that day. It starts at whenever you get up and it finishes when you go to sleep, or people have cheat hours or cheat meals or whatever else. Now, I'll hold my hand up here. I used to do epic cheat days when I was bodybuilding. When I was dieting for shows, I would diet and eat the most horrible diet through the week. I think one year I did turkey burgers and broccoli 3 or 4 times a day, and some oats and whey in the morning, something like that's all I ate through the week. And then when I got to the weekend, I would just pile in an absolute ton of food to sort of compensate for all the hardship I'd inflicted on myself. Now, the reason why cheat days aren't a good idea is because if you see me talking about on other videos about your average calorie intake, if you're creating a deficit Monday to Friday by eating slightly less, so let's say we're doing a 500 calorie deficit every day, so we get to the weekend and we've got 2,500 calories of total deficit for that week so far. It's very easy if you have a cheat day to go over that and to almost create a calorie surplus by eating so much on one day. That is possible to do, and certainly I have seen people do that. They restrict themselves massively in the week, get to the weekend, and they literally can't wait to start eating, and they absolutely epic amount of food that they undo all their good work. And what they would have been better off doing was just spreading those foods out through the week and having maybe a little cheat every day, which wasn't going to set them off on an eating binge. And yeah, you know, I used to do that. I used to go for epic cheats on the weekend. I used to get up early on my cheat day and go to bed really late so I could just continue eating through the whole day. And that's almost the beginning of an eating disorder. And certainly when I did finished doing competition and shows, I did have an issue with food, I think relating back to that. So cheat days I don't think are a good idea. It gives you a negative association with food, in the fact that you see certain foods as good or bad, and when you're cheating on your cheat day, you're eating all the bad food you're not allowed. It doesn't help with your relationship with food. And certainly when I'm working with clients now, we don't talk about cheat days. We talk about foods like no man's land, which are sort of trigger foods, which we can have, but we need to control their intake through the day so we don't end up into a binge. And certainly the clients I work with, they can have a cheat on any time of the day or any time of the week that they want to, as long as it's factored into their calories for the day. And remember, it's all about the calories you're having in the day. If you want to lose body fat, if you can have, say, 1 chocolate bar a day and factor that into your calorie intake, and that stops you having 20 chocolate bars when you get to the weekend, well, that's a good thing. You're controlling your calorie intake. So cheat days, although I used to do them, I don't do them anymore. I don't recommend them for clients. Now, it's perfectly fine if you want to have a weekend off where you have what's called a diet break, and you think, do you know what, I'm going to just have a weekend off my diet. I'm going to go on a diet break. I'm going to eat what I want, but it's a controlled outburst. I normally do diet breaks for, say, 3 to 4 days, or I diet for, say, 12 weeks or whatever, and I would have a couple of days off, or go on a weekend away or something like this. I did this when I was competing for my last show, the very last show I did. We did about, I think, 3 months worth of dieting, went away for a weekend, had a bit of extra food that weekend, came back, and yeah, I did gain a little bit of weight because I'd overeaten, but my mind was recharged, my body was recharged, and I was straight back to the diet. So you're planning that out, but that's not every week. That's every 6 to 8 to 12 weeks, whatever it is. I've had clients who we've been working together for, say, 6 months, and this one client who I talk about quite a lot, he dropped something like 30 kilos or something. He had a 2-week all-you-can-eat trip to Barbados, and we said, let's just treat it like a diet break, eat sensibly, but don't restrict yourself overly. He went away, he overate for, say, 2 weeks, came back, gained 7 kilos, but then because he went straight back onto the diet, so the plan we put out to him with the calorie restriction, eating foods he liked, then he dropped all that weight off quickly, and then he continued to lose weight past that. Now, that's on my website. You can see that case study. So it is actually a true story. Yes, he did gain 7 kilos. He lost it all back again in a week or so, and then he was back and losing weight after that. So don't have cheat days. If you're going to plan in things, have a diet break, that's absolutely fine. But don't have cheat days. You're setting yourself up for potential eating disorder there. Eating religiously to macros, and this is something that I see a lot of people do. They get a macro plan for their diet, and they stick to it so religiously. Now, remember, we're talking about body fat here. It's calories that are the main thing here. It's not macros, although it's a good idea to have sort of loose macros to eat to, and certainly having a certain amount of protein a day is something I recommend for maintaining and building muscle. But actually, you don't need to be that adherent to the macros if body fat is your main goal. And I've seen people get to the end of their day and they're thinking, oh, what can I have left? I've only got 4 grams of protein, 5 grams of fat, and 2 grams of carb. What sort of food, can I have for that? And you think, well, actually, why don't you just get a food that's about 100 calories and eat that? Because it would fit your calories. It wouldn't, be outside your macros slightly, but macros don't really matter to that much. And you get into the end of the day, you've only got that little bit of food left. It's not going to affect your macros that badly or your diet that badly, if at all, as long as the calories are right. But you still see people doing that. And why not just save those 100 calories or those macros for the next day? Remember, it's averages we're talking about, not daily. But people do religiously stick to their macros, that again, that's going into sort of OCD behavior where you're reliant on this prison that you put yourself into. It's perfectly fine to save the macros for the next day, or just to have the calories instead. You don't have to religiously stick to macros. Good to have a macro plan, but don't religiously follow it. It's something that's a guide. It's not something that's set in stone. It's not like 10 commandments of dieting where brought down from Mount Hera and say, you must eat these macros. Not really. It's the calories that's going to matter there, and with a slight lean towards hitting your protein intake. Number 5 is don't tell people you're on a diet. I see this a lot, people announcing on Facebook, I'm on Slimming World again, I'm on Weight Watchers again, or I'm on whatever thing they're going on. It's something that happens a lot. and then in 2 or 3 weeks they're off again because they've just absolutely messed it up. Which is quite common. It's probably not their fault. It's probably the diet's fault, which is not helping them. But they announce they're on a diet. Now, when you do this, what you'll find is that people will be generally unhelpful to you. When you're saying to people, "Yeah, I'm on a diet," do you know what the first thing they'll say is, "Oh, you don't need to go on a diet. You're fine the way you are, or you're beautiful the way you are." And it's like, yeah, well, actually, I didn't say I was ugly. I just said I wanted to lose some body fat. But thanks for saying I'm beautiful the way I am. If you want to lose body fat, all of a sudden people are, "Oh no, you don't want to do that. You're fine the way you are." What does it matter to them? You're the one that wants to make that choice. But then they'll try and convince you otherwise. "Oh, don't go on a diet." Or if you've got really helpful mates, what they'll do is they'll try and tempt you with biscuits or chocolate or whatever, go out for a meal and then say, "Oh, go and have a pudding, one won't harm you." They'll try and do everything they can to get you off the diet. So don't tell them you're on a diet. If you are trying to lose body fat, just say you're full or you don't really fancy that or something else. Don't ever tell anybody you're on a diet. It won't help you. They won't help you. It'll just be a source of conversation where you have to keep talking about it. And to be fair, if you're doing a diet properly, if you watch some of my videos and learn how to build your own diet the right way, you can eat whatever food you like anyway, as long as you're within a calorie deficit. So there are other videos I've done to help teach you do that. Go and watch them if you're not sure how to do it. My Fitness Pal videos is one that you might want to look at for that. Number 6, do someone else's diet. Don't ever do a diet that someone else is saying, "Oh, this worked for me, why don't you do it?" So it will be some Karen in accounts that has a detox tea diet or a keto diet or a vegan diet they're doing, or paleo, whatever else secret sauce they're using, and they go, "Oh, this worked for me, why don't you try it? It'll work for you." Now, very rarely will someone else's diet work for you, unless of course it's a calorie deficit with foods you like, because that works for everybody if you get it right. But people will say, "Oh yeah, I did this, it worked for me." Yeah, it worked for them because they were able to, first of all, they probably enjoyed the food they were eating, or they got such a high control level that they were fine eating really horrible bland food for 12 weeks or whatever. They were in a calorie deficit. They probably increased their activity, and they did other things that helped them towards that. They introduced positive habits. So the diet, any diet will work for you if it's a calorie deficit. But if you don't like the foods you're eating, if you don't like the routines you're forced to do, so say a diet was like, "Oh, you must do fasted cardio in the morning and you can't eat carbs and you must take this supplement, you must do this, you must do that." Well, all that will put you into a calorie deficit. So yeah, it'll work for you, but you'll probably feel like you're in hell doing it, and you won't want to do it for a long period of time. So you might lose weight and then you come off the diet because you hate it, and you eat the foods that you actually like and gain all the weight back again because you've not learned any systems to help you to lose weight. So don't do someone else's diet. I mean, it might work for you if you are exactly like that person, but the chances are it won't work for you. You need to find something that fits your lifestyle, fits the way you like to eat and what you like to do. That's the diet that's going to work for you. Yeah, it's okay to look at someone else's diet and go, "Oh, well, yeah, I could do that. I'll give that a try." But just be aware that if it's not an exact fit for your lifestyle and for your food taste, you're probably going to come unstuck, and it probably won't work for you. Okay, and number 7 is don't try and shortcut the process. And we all want a quick fix. We all want to drop a pill to lose weight. We all want to get on the treadmill and 2 weeks later, we got all the weights come off. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. You did not get fat by eating one cake and the fat jumped on you. It took years and years and years for all that fat to come on, and it's going to take time for it to come off. Now, you gain fat by eating consistently in a calorie surplus. You didn't eat tons and tons and tons. You probably ate a couple of 100 calories over your maintenance every day, and over time that accumulated in body fat, and you didn't notice it until you couldn't get into your clothes, or you looked at your bikini for the holiday and think, "Oh God, I need to do something about that." So you didn't notice it, but by that time it accumulated. So it's not going to come off in 2 to 4 to 6 weeks. Now, I do have a 6-week program where I teach people how to lose weight, but that program is ongoing for life. It has lifetime membership because I know that they're not going to lose all the weight they've accumulated in 6 weeks. They can get a good start, yeah, and they can get results and they can start seeing the results, but it's doing that thing consistently for 6 months which is going to get them the long-term weight loss. And then you have to build the habits and consistently do those habits and build those systems and do those systems for 6 months to actually ingrain it into your brain and your lifestyle that this is the way you live now. You're not going to lose that weight in 2 weeks. Okay, you might lose the weight, but it'll all come back on again once you start eating, because it's probably water and a little bit of food volume that you've lost, not body fat. Remember that if you have to burn a kilo of body fat away, you have to be having a deficit of nearly 8,000 calories. Now that sounds, oh, I'll do that in a day easy. You won't, you absolutely won't. You know, it's going to take weeks and weeks and weeks to burn off kilos of body fat, and it's just not going to be something you're going to do in 2 weeks. So you need to have that consistency, and you're never going to get it by shortcutting or trying to shortcut the process. But this is what diet programs and all these gurus and all these shady people on the internet will try and sell you. Look at this person, they lost all this weight in 6 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. Yeah, you don't see the 6 weeks afterwards where they piled it all back on again. That's really common. Case in point, look at the program The Biggest Loser. They tried to have a reunion of all the people from The Biggest Loser. They scrapped that episode because 75% of the groups had actually gained all the weight back again, because they didn't build systems, they didn't build consistency. They just smashed them for as long as possible to get the weight off. Once they got the weight off, yeah, they photographed it for the program, left them to their own devices, and then they put all the weight back on again. So a shortcut never works. You need to have consistency of action. That's why my programs are a lifetime access to the group, to all the information, to the learning portal that I have. You've got lifetime access to that because you need to be going back to it every now and again when you have a slip up. But most diet companies don't do that because they just want you to keep coming back and keep paying them money every couple of months. So that's the 7 things not to do in order to lose body fat. Maybe this has struck a chord with you on 1 or 2 of the items. Maybe all 7, you've got a bingo, home run. If you have, then go and watch some of my other videos. There are a ton of stuff on my YouTube channel to help you with this. You can listen to it on the podcast as well. And you can always contact me on social media or by comments in the YouTube channel. I do respond to all comments if I see them, and I do get notifications, so I do try and respond to every single one. But yeah, please do shout out if you need a help, or if you've got another video you want me to do something on and to discuss that. Yeah, let me know. I do like helping people. That's why I do these free videos. And I hope you found this useful. If there's someone else that you think would find this useful, please share with them. And I will see you on the next video. Thanks very much.